Jonathan,
All right.
now it's our last one. What do we got up
The
next?
final one. We're going to stick with you, John, on this one. It's from Spacey Casey. What's more likely in a year from now? What's more likely to be considered a bigger failure? Supergirl, Mando and Grogu, or Masters of the Universe?
You know, it's interesting the way you worded that. You didn't ask which is going to be considered to be worse, but rather which is going to be considered to be the bigger failure. Because I think those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the question was, which movie will we look back on and think was the worst? I honestly think Masters of the Universe was the worst. Now, I get it. A number of my friends, and including, I think you, Jonathan, didn't mind Masters of the Universe. I think
Rob and
actually
I
liked it.
both enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You guys both liked it. I
Yeah.
was really disappointed with it. I thought it had a few moments. I think all three of these movies had some good things going for them. Like I
Sure.
think Mandalorian Grogu had its moments. I think Supergirl had its moments. I think
Mhm.
Masters of the Universe had its moments. But at the end of the day, I thought Masters of the Universe was the worst of the two. And then Supergirl and Mando, I'd probably put on kind of equal footing. But to me, the way you worded it is a year from now, when we look back, what will be considered the bigger failure? And I think it's got to be Supergirl, because I don't think there was a lot of expectation on Mando and Grogu. Mando and Grogu wasn't coming off a position of strength and success. Not as much was riding on Mando and Grogu, because we all knew we got Starfighter coming next year,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I think is going to be awesome. Supergirl, on the other hand, well, I think just as good as Mandalorian and Grogu, and that's not saying much because I don't think either are good. And while better than Masters of the Universe, nobody expected much from Masters of the Universe, right? Let's just be honest. Nobody expected much from it. So I think for when there are people who came out of the theater really enjoying it, I think that's bonus. But with Supergirl, you're coming off the heels of a tremendously successful Superman. You're trying to build on that momentum. You're trying to help propel this brand new cinematic universe forward. You had a great director in place. You had this really great character. You had not just pretty good, you had really good source material to draw from. And then it just is what it is. It wasn't a good movie to me. So because of all those other factors, I don't think it's the worst of the three, Sean. But the question was, what will we look back on as the bigger failure? I think we're probably going to look back at Supergirl as the biggest failure. I don't know. What do you think out of the three?
Yeah. So, I mean, on just pure quality, Masters of the Universe was my favorite of those three movies by a good bit. I liked it a good bit more than Mando and Grogu and Supergirl, partially just because my wife loved it. And so if my wife gets into something nerdy, then apparently it's the lead guy. He was in this movie called The Idea of You. She was obsessed with it 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Watched it over
Anne
and over.
loves that one.
I thought it was for Anne Hathaway. I thought that's why my wife was obsessed with it. And then she became obsessed with He-Man. I was like, all right, it's just Nick is the reality here. But yeah, I don't think there was expectations of He-Man. They knew they were trying to bring back a franchise to life, and it was always going to be a hard sell. Mando and Grogu felt like a placeholder movie, and they kind of knew that. But Supergirl, this was the first movie not written and directed by James Gunn. And so there's just a lot of eyes on it. There was expectation. There's all the statements James Gunn kind of made about script coming first, quality coming first. And this was the test of that. And I don't think it did pass the test. It didn't turn out great. Like James Gunn really liked Superman last year, but is he doing equally good work shepherding these other projects? Based on this one, it does't look that way. So I think that's the one that
I was going to say, Sean, I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, because I don't think I've talked to you about this. Like listen, I am no James Gunn hater. I am a huge James Gunn fanboy. I love James Gunn. But you know, I have had this feeling for a while, and Supergirl only made me double down on it. To quote Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Damn. And I just don't know that, you know, if you're directing a movie, that is a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, 52-week a year, totally obsessed in the middle of your sleep and everything like that job until that movie's done. And that's a 2-year-long process. Being the CEO of a production company is a full-time job. And I don't mind. Actually, I like the idea that he kicked off the DCU by directing the first. I thought that was a good idea.
Sure.
But then they announce he's gonna get right back to it again and do that, and it's like, I don't know that you're going to be able to properly, like you just brought up, Sean. I don't think he's going to be able to properly do both jobs. I don't think he's going to be able to shepherd properly the DCU if he's on set all the time and in an editing room all the time. I just don't think he can do it. I don't know. Do you share my skepticism, or are you more optimistic about that than I am?
Well, even adding to that list, writing Creature Commandos, writing Peacemaker season 2, that each one of these is a full-time job. Like, these are all, Kevin Feige has not directed any MCU films.
Yep.
And he's still spread thin doing a lot of different things. And back in the day, he said, we're only going to do one movie at a time, or one movie per year. Then we're only going to do 2 movies per year. We're only going to do 3 movies per year. When they expanded that to doing TV shows, that's where the quality seemed to drop. And that's without him writing and directing anything. And you look at James Gunn, and right out of the gate, he wrote 2 TV shows and a movie, all that came out in the span of a year, while trying to shepherd a bunch of different scripts. One of them's now come out. Another one comes out, or a TV show and a movie are coming out in the next few months, while he was writing his next movie and now directing his next movie. When is he actually shepherding these scripts? When is he actually making sure that they fall in alignment? Can you do all of that? You're only one person.
And there are whispers going around. I don't buy them myself, but there are whispers going around that he's now considering doing the Batman movie himself, which it's like, so I don't know. We'll see.
That's probably a mistake, honestly.
It is a mistake, unless he steps down as if he wants to step down as the head of DC and just focus on making films.
Yeah.
Godspeed. Awesome. But I just don't think he can do both.
And I wonder when you look at financially, something like Disney and Lucasfilm, they can weather the storm of a loss or a barely break even on. This is nothing for them. Oh, it didn't perform that well financially, whatever. It affects DC Studios a loss, much more. So I think in the long run, that'll hurt them.